Greetings, fellow Ghibli fans. Blue Dragon 5 here.
And Jacob Weil.
There are few names in the field of animation that inspire awe and admiration, like animation master Hayao Miyazaki. To properly pay tribute to the man's illustrious career, we're embarking on a 3-year journey through his films, seeking enlightenment along the way. May you find it with us, this May-azaki!
And tonight, we are bringing one of his seminal features, My Neighbor Totoro.
That's right. Now, some of you are probably wondering, wait a minute, didn't they already talk about Totoro for an anniversary? Well, yes, we did, but it wasn't during May-azaki.
And I wasn't there last time either. So you get a fresh perspective with me here.
That's right.
All right. So, Dragon, how do you want to do this?
Well, I guess the way to start. So again, overall, folks, we do. I will say we kind of have an overall arcing theme. Kind of the kind of our 3-part journey here, and kind of our 3 chapters in the book of Miyazaki. Book 1, as it were. We covered basically a lot of our favorites and a lot of the biggies. We covered
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Porco
Rosso.
Princess Mononoke.
And Spirited Away.
Yep.
So pretty much all the kind of all the real kind of the I don't know how you best summarize it, but I mean kind of a lot of the award winners, a lot of the big breakout movies.
Yep. I mean, specifically on that bunch, Mononoke and Spirited Away.
Yep.
And the theme for this year, then?
Yeah, one could say maybe book 1 was the breakthrough year.
Yep, and this one?
Well, this one, it's kind of, let's just say, I wouldn't call it our official title. It's kind of Kids and Castles, but essentially it's, we have, kind of a theme of just kind of the youthful, kind of the youth-targeted Ghibli films, as well as some films that have a fun runner of Miyazaki in it, which are castles. The man loves architecture, and we're going to celebrate that.
I mean, he's directed 3 movies with castle in the title.
I think he's trying to tell us something.
Yeah, he likes castles.
Yes, your one was Mount Rushmore. There you go.
According to Little Blue. Yep.
Yeah. Anyway. So I guess to start things off, so Totoro, I have great respect for Totoro. It's very much Ghibli's Toy Story in that it put him on the map. It's super iconic. However, not the most story-driven movie, but aesthetically very pleasing. It's the first of Miyazaki. It's really the first time Miyazaki, he went personal with one of his films. He brought personal details from his life into the movies, and I think it shows. And I think it does speak to how long-lasting the movie has been. And I mean, overall, it's not my go-to, but undeniably, it's a classic. It's a slice of life, but it's a classic. It's.
I mean, this was Miyazaki's 3rd movie, right?
Well, that's true, but still, it was the first time he's really kind of put a lot of his there was kind of like professional distance with the stories he had told before that point, and this is where he's really kind of he's kind of taking it to the next level.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Plus, you got him firmly Ghibli's established at this point, because technically, Nausicaa not technically a Ghibli movie.
And of course, their first movie being Castle in the Sky.
Yeah.
And technically, and Dragon, I'm sure you probably might mention this, but this was released on the same day as Grave of the Fireflies.
Well, yes, we will get there.
Yes.
Yes, we'll address the fun irony of that momentarily, Jacob. Jacob, overall, how do you feel at My Neighbor Totoro?
My first time watching this movie was just a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to
You
get to
remember
this.
how young and youthful you were a few days ago, Jake? Do you remember how nostalgic that time was
Yes, I wish I could go back.
when you were young and stupid?
Yes, I wish.
Yeah.
But like so, yeah. My first time watching it was a couple days ago. And obviously, I was very familiar with this movie's legacy. You know, because it's like obviously like one of the most iconic animated movies ever made. So, like, but I gotta say, but going into it, I was kind of interested. Like, I went in knowing that it like wouldn't be like this, like it wouldn't be like this emotionally devastating movie, or like wouldn't be like even more complex, more plotted, complex than some of his later works. Does more. There's more. It's a more simple movie than even like some of his later more child friendly works, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And as it is, I found it to be a very pleasant, unassuming slice of life movie. You know, it's like it's very visually pleasing. Has a basically just again, I'm trying to find the right words here. It's very aesthetically pleasing. There's not a lot of conflict in the movie except for like a little bit at the end, but the movie never drags. You know what I mean? You're still engaged by you're always engaged by like the childlike whimsy and nature of the movie itself. Like you want to get lost in the forest with the spirits. You know what I mean, right, Dragon?
Well, yeah, so it was Del Toro.
Yep. It's like the funny thing is Totoro. I was expecting Totoro to be in the movie more than he was. He's only in like a couple scenes.
Oh, it doesn't show up for the first 30 minutes.
Yep. So as I was expecting to
Hey,
see.
remember, Jacob. The movie is not called Totoro. It's called My Neighbor Totoro. Emphasis on my neighbor, as in we need the neighbor to get Totoro.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that, but
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I expected him to be in the movie a lot more than he did. It almost, and to bring him this, I know that I'm being facetious here, but it almost seemed like he was in Toy Story 3 more than he was in this movie.
I don't know about that.
I mean, like I said, I was being facetious,
Yeah.
but 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 seriously, I did enjoy this movie. I wouldn't of the Ghibli movies I've seen, I wouldn't call this my personal favorite, but I can see why it's achieved the lasting legacy that it has. I mean, like I said, it's just simple, pleasant, unassuming, undemanding, but not a bad time.
Okay.
All right.
All right, let me hit you with some background.
Yep.
All right, so after Miyazaki did his, he's at this point he's directed 3 films. He did 3 films. He then did a series, and the series was, I believe, 3,000 Miles in Search of Mother. So that's another thing we should probably mention too. Again, it is, let's just say it is not necessarily by accident, folks, that we are covering this on Mother's Day.
Yep.
Yep. Given that Totoro definitely, motherhood is a very strong component of Totoro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so point being, a similar place here. There's an anime called 3,000 Miles in Search of Mother, which kind of, in working on this, Miyazaki kind of had a desire to do something kind of more lighthearted. Because up to this, he had done, Nausicaa, which essentially is kind of a post-apocalyptic story, and we had kind of a swashbuckling kind of adventure of sorts. I mean, still wasn't like, but there were stakes with Castle Cagliostro, but then of course you have Castle in the Sky, which is more, it's a lot more of a thought piece. It's got whimsy in there, but it's very much kind of a serious story.
Yeah.
So he wanted to do something. Essentially, he wanted to do something lighthearted and also do something that was kind of a commentary on, this is during the '80s, Japan, like kind of like the States. Again, also kind of in relation to the States. Japan was having an economic boom of the '80s, and Miyazaki was very much kind of like anti, like the kind of corporate greed and stuff. So he's very much like he wanted to do something kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum there to kind of bring us back from like advancement, kind of being corporate and kind of like industrialization to like let's go back to kind of to nature. Basically wanted to bring he wanted to a movie about a return to a natural setting and kind of creature design and ultimately the building blocks of Totoro were just basically let's kind of go back to nature and kind of go back to kind of his youth in a sense. So that brings us to the first time Miyazaki not only has set a film in Japan, like before this point, he had never really directly. It was very much European settings, or with the whole castle thing, very kind of European or European influence settings. Never like full on. We're not in Japan. So this is the first time we've actually directly set a Miyazaki movie in Japan, but also added like personal elements from his life into the story.
Makes sense.
Yeah, his mother, for example, we get into it when we get into the main story, but Miyazaki's mother, she was ill, and he didn't move. He didn't move a bunch as a kid. Essentially, his father, had involvement in a lot of military stuff, so because of that, there was a lot of moving, and in factories, and his role in kind of the industrial war complex. But we'll get there movies from now.
Yeah.
Point being, he so one of the reasons he opted to feature a pair of sisters instead of brothers, because he basically came from a family of brothers, was to provide distance. Because Miyazaki's thing where he's intently looking at every frame of footage on these movies. So like he would it might affect him after a while if he just sees himself and his brothers like directly in the movie, especially at this point. So he's so that's why he kind of had a little bit of distance here and there just to make sure, it's not like a full on. We're not getting to the boy and the heron, is my operative point here. Like, that's years down the line.
Yeah.
Where things are getting really personal for him.
Oh, yeah.
So, originally, it was, if you notice in the concept art for Totoro, in the original sketches and the original concept art, is actually one kid. Now, one basically was like one child, kind of probably more like Satosuke. Satsuki, sorry. Yeah, I meant,
Satsuki.
yeah. Essentially, seemingly just Satsuki. And essentially, what happened was we bifurcated the child. We split the child in two for practical purposes for the story, mainly the separation of Act Three. That's the main reason we have two girls.
The integration as Satsuki and May.
Yep. So the goal of the film overall, the goal Miyazaki's kind of his goal was to show the children the splendor of nature, but it did. He always felt it kind of backfired on him ultimately because the kids love the movie, but they're inside watching the movie and not, playing outside.
That is the paradox.
He always felt it was kind of like one step forward, two steps back in that regard.
It is kind of a bit of a paradox there.
So, speaking of which, the movie is released in 1988, but it's not just released in 1988. No, no, no. It is released as a double feature with a little of a lighthearted movie called The Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah, lighthearted about the about fire bombings during World War II.
Yeah, yeah. It's a comedy. So,
It's like, and the funny thing is, it's unknown which one was shown first, but like a lot of speculation that like they showed Fireflies first and then Totoro to end on a lighthearted note.
I think it's a safe bet. That's what happened. All right. I think the idea that you would watch Grave of the Fireflies. So in the days before Barbenheimer, you had Grave of the Fireflies and then Totoro.
the, the funny and the thing is, they were both made by the same studio.
Yep. Not just so. Here's something interesting we want to plant the flag with in the history of our Miyazaki films here. So the anime from earlier, 3,000 Miles in Search of Mother, as well as Grave of the Fireflies, directed by Miyazaki's friend, collaborator, and mentor.
And co-founder of Studio Ghibli.
Yes, and co-founder of Studio Ghibli, Isao Takahata.
Yep.
Mr. Takahata, aka Paku, that's his nickname. I think, I don't know if Max did this documentary about the boy and the heron, in which he brings up his nickname for Takahata a lot. And I think I'm convinced Max screwed up the subtitles on it because apparently I've read somewhere it's Paku, which I've heard other places like Avatar. So Paku sounds like a real shorthand or a name or something. Where in the way Max has it, it's Pocky. I'd have to double check that to know for sure, but I don't know if he said Paku-san like in the documentary the way it's subtitled or not. But regardless, Paku. Point being, Takahata. He, kind of again, he's very much is linked to the success of Ghibli as well as like kind of the kind of debatably one of the most like dramatically stirring of the Ghibli movies, along with the most iconic lighthearted the Toy Story of the Ghibli movies.
Yep.
Yep. So,
I mean, the fact that he did Grave of the Fireflies is why all of his future works are so much lighter in tones.
yeah,
It's like, Only Yesterday, Pom Poko, My Neighbors the Yamadas. Those are all big. Some of those, a lot of those have dramatic elements, but they're definitely lighter in tone than Grave of the Fireflies.
yeah.
And which I will admit, Dragon, I have not yet seen Grave of the Fireflies.
Not for lack. I want to be clear, not for lack of trying. Every time they add it, like it's on Netflix, but there's no English dub on Netflix, which is kind of a deal breaker for me.
I mean, we might have to like just bite the bullet on that one.
Yep.
I mean, we might just have to.
And there is an English dub. It's just a matter of getting to it.
Yeah.
It is getting a fun fact. It is getting a re-release this year, like in the coming months.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to Blu-ray release. Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah, someone's debating if I'm gonna get it or not, but
Yep, it's
Anyway.
Yes. But yep, on the same day from the same studio, two very completely different movies.
So the film,
and strangely enough, considering that usually people would associate something like Grave of the Fireflies with Miyazaki.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, given all the war parallels, but
But nope, that's actually one of the movies they did that he had no involvement with.
Anyway, so the music was composed by Joe
Hisaishi.
yeah. And so the point of the movie comes out. Film has great reviews, fantastic reviews. However, not a lot of money at the box office.
Yeah.
I don't know if the idea is that maybe the audience got scared after Grave of the Fireflies and they didn't stick around or not. I'm not sure, but it did not do well at the box office. However, Silver Lining, hugely popular when it went to TV. So when everyone could watch it from the comfort of home, skyrocketed, made big money in merchandise, especially the plushies.
Plush Totoro, yeah.
Of course, the success of which is the reason. The success of the merchandising and when it went to TV is the reason Totoro became the the Ghibli logo.
It is kind of ironic that like Miyazaki is really outspoken against capitalism, but capitalism is what kind of saved Studio Ghibli in the first place.
It's like a necessary evil kind of a thing, which is kind of the story of Miyazaki's life in terms of again, he doesn't have a lot of the stories that he tells with his father, being involved, basically essentially being a war profiteer of sorts.
Yep.
Which again, I mean, he basically, Miyazaki kind of as like the rebellious teen saw his father as a war profiteer, so it's a little unclear how full on, but we'll get to that in movies down the line.
Yeah,
when we get to like the wind rises, we'll talk about that. But we'll...
Yeah. Man, like no, Drake, we'll talk about that during Ponyo.
Anyway. So, then of course, years later, Totoro still, goes down in history. It's the most popular kind of film covered at the Ghibli Museum.
And of course, it's like a big centerpiece at the Ghibli Park.
Yep. We have the Toy Story 3 cameo, which you'll notice though, wonderful little bit Woody hugging Totoro.
Yep.
Totoro,
Miyazaki and John Lasseter are on friendly terms.
Yep, and Pete Docter, he will always cite Miyazaki's works in a lot of his stuff. So there's a lot of love there.
Yep.
So there is a sequel. There is a sequel short to Totoro, not a full length film, but there is a short, May and the Kitten Bus.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay.
And the Dust Bunnies do kind of make a reappearance in future works too.
Yes, the soot sprites, but we'll get there when we bring up the soot sprites.
Yep.
All right, anyway, so without further ado, with a musical tune, Hayao, Hayao, Miyazaki, go. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Let's start the conversation. All right.
Yeah.
All right, so the Kusakabe family. They're moving to the Japanese countryside. Nice family. Difficult time in their life. You know, their mother is being treated for tuberculosis.
Yeah. So they're moving there to be closer to the hospital where she's being treated at.
But again, the important thing here is it's a very optimistic view on a very ordinarily dour situation. Like on paper, this is a Grave of the Fireflies situation. You know, they're moving to be near their sick and potentially dying mother. You know, give them the olden times medicine.
Yep.
But no, everything. There's a very chipper outlook here.
Yeah.
So the setting is post-war. It's peaceful. Again, this is kind of honestly this whole movie, this whole setting, this basically this movie is Miyazaki's happy place. It's very it's nostalgic in a positive way for a change with Miyazaki. You know, it's you know this locate. I think Miyazaki's happy place is being isolated and surrounded by nature, which essentially his real life home is a lot like. It feels a lot like kind of a fancier version of the Kusakabe house.
I mean, I can kind of see where he's coming from on that. I would like to, obviously, in a better kept house than what the Kusakabes end up living in, but
That's true.
I wouldn't mind living in a place like that.
Yeah. I mean, I listen to appreciate the design that went into this place. So again, one of the big feathers in the cap of Totoro, the leaves on the fur, if you were. One of the big pluses to this film is the way in which we render the natural landscapes and natural setting, which has always been Ghibli's biggest strength as an animation company. They nail down in 2D, you know, what an animated landscape should look like, or could look like.
The backgrounds.
Yes.
You look at the rice fields and you're like,
Yep.
and,
The lush greens, all that.
They know how to use their greens.
But I love like the built-in pathways, you know, because it really feels there's something very tactile here that really it succeeds so much in putting you in the perspective of when you were younger and you first like saw these kind of pastures or like these natural kind of like pathways. You ever went for a walk in your life or in a backyard for the first time? Like you're kind of seeing that kind of you know like the unknown,
like the woods behind your house.
Yeah, the forestry, the unknown. So you know, I love like there's like we have all these little like the moments of discovery when the girls move into the house. Like, we have the pathways of like just the getting walking to the house. You have the built-in hidden stairwell that's in the house,
which leads to the attic.
Yep, leads to the attic.
I just love like how we're immediately introduced to May and sorry, introduced to the girls and how like they're immediately like, you know, excited to be in the new house.
This is what I'm saying. The excitement of a kid moving into a haunt.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, the excitement of a kid moving into a haunted house, essentially, and like they're not scared by the haunted house; they're seeing it as exciting, you know. And they're running around, they're playing. Like this is what I'm saying. We're hitting all like Ghibli just has a mastery over hitting like you know like this is how kids act.
And the Satsuki and May's dad, Mr. Kusakabe, is just like, you know, entirely supportive of their playing.
Yeah. I still really love the gag of like Kanta like you know yelling at your house is haunted.
Kanto's fun.
Yep. So again, the old school architecture is great. I love with the old school architecture. While the house is a little run down, as we see by like the collapsing, you know, wood when they play with the pillar. It's it's like a waste not want not design in which like everything is built into the house, like you know, like the kind of the sliding doors and like the stairs and all this stuff.
It's a classic Japanese house.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I wouldn't mind living in a place like that. Maybe I would have a little bit more security than what they have. But
you should look into Miyazaki's actual house. By the way, it's so cozy in the winter.
I will have to look into that.
Yeah, it looks really nice. So we foreshadow. We kind of foreshadow Spirited Away with the Soot Sprite. So there is a connection between those movies here. We're obviously Spirited Away. We go full tilt with our spirits. I mean, I guess between three films mainly. Think I know, yes, it's more than three films. I'm just saying, for argument purposes, here you have this film as kind of the beginnings of it. You have Mononoke, in which we explore kind of some kind of spirits and kind of more. That's a more of a fusion between spirits and animals more directly. And then we have full on spirits with Spirited Away.
Yeah, and the Dust Bunnies also reappear in a Star Wars short.
Yeah,
there's Grogu and Dust Bunnies.
yeah,
So
they get around.
Yep. Like this guy. Speaking of like anime and Star Wars, I kind of wish Ghibli was working on something for Visions.
Well, I mean, the time it takes Ghibli to do anything, I don't know if it would. They would need to have approved it long ago. Long ago.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Yep.
And who knows what Miyazaki's opinions on that would be.
Yeah. Anyway, so again, the whole point with the soot sprites is that it's the spirits fitting into the natural world and like things that we take for granted, like dust bunnies. Basically, what if dust bunnies were sentient?
It's like they live in houses that have been abandoned, or like houses that have nobody living in them, and I bet they're upstairs right now talking if they should move out.
Yep. By the way, so we have the caretaker of the house and neighbor, Granny.
Pat Carroll.
Yes, and of course, Jacob, tell the kids who Pat Carroll is.
Ursula the Sea Witch.
Also, Grandma Arbuckle from Garfield.
Yeah, I guess.
Which admittedly she's playing more into here.
Well, yeah, but I didn't remember the Grandma Arbuckle.
Oh yeah, she's great in the Garfield Christmas and Thanksgiving specials.
And the food she makes, good God.
Yes.
I mean, if anyone like Miyazaki doesn't do a lot. I mean, does Miyazaki do a lot of food animation?
Yes.
I mean, even later in this movie when Sasuke was making the lunch, it's like I don't even like fish, but I would eat that bento box she made.
Oh, I bet you would.
I said I don't even like fish.
Remember, Jacob, unofficial sponsors. People versus food. They've made the Ghibli food, the Ghibli chow.
Did they make Satsuki's lunchbox?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Because it looks good.
Yeah, they made bento boxes both between Dragon Ball and Ghibli, and I'm pretty sure one of the many bento boxes they've done, one of them was from Totoro.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
But yeah, heck, remember how we talked about it's always like fish. Funnily enough, it makes sense considering it's Japan, but even the. What was it, like the fish cake from Kiki's Delivery Service?
Yeah. I forget. It's not a flounder, but yeah, it's the. I know what you're talking about. The cake, the fish cake.
But yeah, it looks great. It doesn't taste very good, but it looks good in the animation.
Anyway,
yeah.
So we established the tone kind of in our Act 1 space here. It's down to earth, slice of life. Again, iconic Ghibli visuals, but little touches of the kids playing in the rainfall that really kind of make it sing. Again, I love the rainfall we do, which we'll talk about a little bit more after we introduce Totoro. So real quick, just to break down the family, so like a skosh more. So we have the father, Tatsuo. So by the way, designed, and this kind of carries over into a few other Ghibli films. The design of Tatsuo inspired by Miyazaki's father. So basically, like a lot of the men, a lot of the kind of the working fathers do have a bear resemblance to the young Hayao Miyazaki's father.
Not bad. I can see that.
He is voiced by Tim Daly.
Yep. I know who else he plays.
Good man. All right, let's see. He's wearing glasses for a reason, kids.
And why is that? Oh, never mind. Took me a second, but I got it.
Yep. So he's a professor of archaeology at the university. He's a nice guy, little absent-minded in being not a single parent, but kind of like having the responsibilities of parenthood just foisted onto him in a singular capacity.
Yeah, but he's doing very well for himself. I mean, looking after two little girls.
Yeah, yeah, and again, he's very present. He seems really, he's nursing their imagination. That really, it's really nice. He's nursing the imagination of children to distract from the harsh reality that they are facing. So he's very much keeping everyone in good spirits. So good man.
But even then, he's like trying. I mean, he's not like telling them everything exactly is going to be okay. But
Yeah, he's not lying to him, but he's not. Yeah, again, he's keeping things light.
yes, which is what good parents do.
Yep. Okay, Satsuki.
Satsuki.
Well, I keep hearing K, Jacob, in the movie. Are you sure
It's Satsuki. It ends in Ki.
Well, I know it's how it's spelled, but how's it sound, Jacob?
Satsuki.
Okay, Satsuki.
Yes, and like I think Ponyo has Sasuke,
Okay.
which it's a different name.
All right.
Kind of confused. Like yep, Satsuki and May, voiced by the Fanning sisters.
Yes. So, anyway, so Miyazaki, is basically Satsuki is Miyazaki as a kid, very much like he was the sibling that was kind of running things while mom was sick and dad was working. Yeah, he was helping in mom's absence, and that's very much what Satsuki just kind of represents there. She's a good kid, forced to grow up, but not more as a tribute to mom than like an obligation to mom, and that she wants to be like her mother. We see when we visit the mom in the hospital, there's a lot of love and appreciation there for her. Like they desperately want mom to come home because they look up to her being the lady of the family.
Yep, she's basically having to be a good older sister for May.
Yeah. So
And May's just like this. Basically, is like looks at the world with wide-eyed wonder.
mm-hmm.
Is happily exploring the area and the forest around her.
So May is very much she was a big reason for splitting the character, from one girl to two as well. Was Miyazaki had a niece that he kind of studied, and basically the niece was very much a huge inspiration for May, like a young niece. That's where a lot of May comes from.
Well, didn't she also inspire Kiki?
Well, that I don't know if that was I don't know if that was the niece, but maybe. Well, it might have been her a little older, so probably. I guess that tracks. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I was thinking about it because we do these out of order, so I was thinking, oh yeah, actually that does track. It probably would have been. Maybe it's probably the same girl. Yeah.
I mean,
Miyazaki, he does have friends who have kids too, so that's what I'm trying to suss out there. But you might be able to be the niece grown up, so it would track.
I mean, I was just asking. I don't actually know.
And yet you're sure about Sasuke.
Yes, I just watched the movie not
I
too
know
long.
I know you just watched the movie. That's why I'm asking.
I'm looking at the name how it's spelled. Yes, it's pronounced Satsuki.
Okay. Anyway. All right. So again, it's a clever move getting the sisters in real life to play these roles in the dub.
Yes.
And by the way, fun fact about the names. You know what the names kind of translate to?
What's that?
So May, just in terms of like the way it sounds, it's May. Month of Mother's Day, month of spring, month of
Yeah.
Flip side, Satsuki translates to fifth month.
Huh.
So yet again, May, flowers, Mother's Day, mom, maternal, spring, new beginnings, nature. It's all relative.
That is pretty interesting.
Yeah. By the way, I always kind of joke about with May is that I feel May's design is somewhat of a prototype for for Ponyo.
I actually was reminded of Ponyo quite a few times watching this.
She's got very much kind of a frog vibe to her,
Yeah, like the way her grin, the way she's dressed, like she had the same like color dress.
Mm-hmm. So May's wide-eyed innocence, which I want to say is why the spirits gravitate towards her. I think they gravitate towards the purity of children. And for example, initially, I don't think the spirits are going to Satsuki, not because she's not like a good kid or anything, but just because like she's kind of in this position where she's kind of the grown up.
Huh.
So I think that's why. But again, she's not fully a grown up. So I think that's why she's like kind of in between. Why it takes a bit before she actually meets Totoro.
All right.
Anyway, so I also with May, her goals in the movie are very simple. She wants mom to come home for a visit, and she's gonna sleep in bed with me. Gonna
Oh.
sleep in my bed. That's all she wants.
which was adorable.
Yep.
Like I really like it really puts it like I really like May that how May how it's encapsulates just May's wide-eyed wonder, like looking at the world. Just nothing really gets her down despite the situation that's going on,
Yeah.
and just basically she wants to explore. She wants to see what's going on around her.
So as you can kind of tell with the cat bus, there are some Alice in Wonderland parallels here. Miyazaki did have a lot of love for some of the early Disney works, so there's
I mean, Disney's huge in Japan.
well, yeah,
I mean, back then, growing up with him growing up, and even still now.
yeah. So there are some nods to it with our forest spirits, with our three sizes of Totoro. There's we have like three sizes on Totoro. We have I'm saying there's three different Totoros, but three different sizes. The little white one, a little indicative of the white rabbit, because she goes down kind of the little branch path, which is kind of an interim rabbit hole, and that's where she kind of follows him, and
And like the one with the sack,
yeah. Then we have the one with the sack, and then we have Totoro.
the giant Totoro,
Yes.
the giant fluffy Totoro.
Yeah, so we don't meet him until about the 30-minute mark, and May meets him. We have just the fun size comparison of the littlest character, the smallest human character in the movie, with the giant spirit character of the movie, with this ginormous mouth of like all molars.
Yeah, man, a big grin.
Yep, big Cheshire grin.
And vocal perfection English in the English version provided by none other than Frank Welker,
Yep.
which is nice.
Oh yeah.
He's done a couple things.
Yeah, here and there. He's a young upstart. He'll make his way one day, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yep.
But
Anyway.
but what really amazes me is that like it's the kind of like the usual thing. Like Totoro doesn't have any dialogue whatsoever. He just like he yawns.
He does say his name once.
Well, it's more like he's like kind of like yawning and groaning with like Totoro kind of thing. I mean, it's not even really. It's kind of ambiguous if that's his name, but kind of. But like I said, he doesn't really get much. Other than that, he doesn't really get much dialogue. But the way his face is just designed to be that, just extremely expressive.
Yeah,
And
I always felt Totoro is kind of like he's kind of like the cousin of Snorlax.
yeah, kind of.
He's huge and he's kind of Snorlax-esque.
I mean, Snorlax does sleep a lot.
Yep.
And you know how you wake him up in the game?
He played the flute.
With a flute.
Yep, the Poke flute.
Kind of like how what Totoro plays in this movie.
Uh-huh.
So I'm just wondering. Now that you bring it up, I am kind of wondering if there's some intentional reference to Totoro there.
I like to think so, but I'm not sure. If Pokemon was directly referencing Totoro or not. In my heart of hearts, I like to think so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
I mean, it would be kind of fun. But...
So let's see. So we said point being Totoro is he's the forest spirit. He's very kind of he's fun as we're going to see later on. He's kind of funny. It's again one with the size comparison, but more so just kind of like he's the way he kind of interacts with our human characters.
Like when May first landed on Totoro, I was like, was she gonna fall into his mouth? Like, cause his mouth is huge. Like his mouth is bigger than she is.
Had like the sneeze.
Yeah, I was like, did he just like blow her away with his sneeze? Like, nope, she's still on his belly.
Yep.
I mean, Totoro. I mean, like I said, Totoro only appears like a couple times in this movie, but he does. But every time it like makes an impact.
About 3 or 4 times in total, I'd imagine.
I mean, like he has like this movie is like an hour and a half long, right?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's only in the movie for like 10 minutes.
At least the Hannibal Lecter of his own movie.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, as you did say earlier, Dragon, like My Neighbor Totoro. He's the neighbor.
He's the neighbor. He ain't the girls.
Nope. But every time he does appear, it's important.
Yeah.
He makes an impact.
Well, yeah.
And like I said, without a single and without a single word.
So
outside of his own name.
So in conjunction with that, Jacob, there is the fun, ambiguous question that I feel we provide evidence through the movie to suggest otherwise. But there is ambiguity on Totoro that suggests that he could be imaginary. Our first encounter with him is through the little girl. She tries showing everyone, the creature, and he's gone. There seemingly is no evidence.
Especially when like May's running through the maze, or basically through the clearing, and then she ends up back at the yard.
I love that, by the way.
Yep, she's like, it's like, I'll show you, and then she runs in, and she runs immediately back out the other side.
So they find the giant camphor tree.
The camphor tree was a very neat set piece.
So apparently, yeah. So I love that. Basically, the camphor tree is indicative of Totoro, imaginary or not. Basically, his spirit is tied to and representative of this giant camphor tree,
larger than life.
Oh yeah. Then we had a nice bit where they kind of essentially they prayed to the tree and really they're giving their thanks to the tree in a nice. Again, the whole. I think ultimately what we're saying is that the family respects nature, ergo nature is nice to the family. That's why the soot sprites kind of give a blessing and they leave and all that kind of stuff.
And even Mr. Kusakabe like prays to the tree as well.
Yeah. So that's the thing though. So I love our father here. He's indulging in it. He indulges in it. He's playing into it. He's not like saying it. It didn't happen, but he's just saying it must reach out to specific people. And Satsuki, she wants to meet Totoro herself. So they're not coming down and say, "Oh, silly May," or "You dumb child." They're not doing any of that.
No, they're like he's encouraging her imagination.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's clear that he actually does exist.
Yeah. I love the visual of like Totoro and the little Totoro's the Russian doll, the Russian nesting doll of Totoro's, which you have to imagine at some point they made that, right?
I can only imagine. They'd be kind of foolish not to.
I love when they're all sitting on like the top branch, like construction workers eating lunch.
Yeah, or playing the flute.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're playing the flute because at first pass it looks like, oh man, are they drinking like tea or something? Like, no, they're playing the flute.
I mean, it does kind of look like they're like eating like a melon or something up there.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
But yeah, it's like the Totoro's playing the flute. Like I mean, it's clear kind of to us that Totoro isn't imaginary.
Well, here's the thing, Jacob. I think there's legit evidence as the movie goes on that he's not imaginary, especially by the ending, which we'll get to. But
yeah,
it very much feels like we. But I like how we build up the evidence, though.
It's like it does kind of start off as like maybe it's just May's imagination, and she's just a way to, especially after the revelation that their mother is sick, kind of like it's her kind of like escapism.
Yeah. So, school.
Yep. Like basically, Satsuki makes a friend of Michiko. They go to school together, and when May's left with Granny, like she's not very happy.
Yeah, and basically so I always read this to be May crashes the school day because she's kind of everyone's busy. Her family has kind of left her alone with Granny, and I think it's that Satsuki is kind of the mother figure of the house. Whether like obviously Mom's still around. They visit mom in the movie. By the way, mom, yeah, go on.
I'm just saying you can finish your point.
The mother in the movie, Miss Kuskabe, she's very nice lady. We see the girls; they're kind of following in her influence. Like the whole brushing the hair thing, and they write. I love how we write her letters throughout the course of the movie.
And she wants nothing more than to just get out of the hospital and be home with her family.
I mean, Yatsuko, she is the emotional heart of the movie in a sense, and even though she's barely a player in the movie, she is the central, she's the point of the movie. She's like whatever, the central kind of gravitational pull of the film, where she's sick, but not dying. It's a possibility though, but she's not dying, which again, I think.
And it does kind of come into conflict later on.
See, here's the thing. I think my earlier reads, one of the reasons Sword never grabbed me, I think, fundamentally was I always questioned like the choice of not the choice of not killing the mother, but the choice of like not playing the stakes of things are maybe a little grimmer, like they should be a little grimmer versus kind of what they ultimately were. And now, of course, upon further watches, I think it occurs to me that no, this is absolutely the right choice. And also, there's the personal thing for the director. Where this is authentic, where the mother was sick, but there was fear of something bad happening, the uncontrollable things of life. Again, one could say the nature of life, and just seeing how someone deals with that, and then just kind of seeing like how we all will have like family members who are sick or maybe in a hospital at some point. We don't know what's going on. A crisis happens, and we spiral and we spin, and we don't know what we're going to do. And that's essentially what we depict in this movie. So ultimately, I think it was a really good choice. So in putting her in this position, instead of like being more like it doesn't like take the conflict out. It just makes the conflict kind of up in the air.
Yeah. I do agree with you. I think it would have been too much if Mrs. Kusakabe died.
Yeah, like it's initially it feels like we're building to something happening and then it doesn't happen. But again, it's like there's drama in the unknown, and that's where the drama is. So you're not walking away with nothing.
It would. I mean, in other movies, in other like Miyazaki movies, yeah, I can totally see that kind of thing happening. But
Yeah,
the way this movie goes, I think it would have been like too much of a tonal whiplash.
yeah. I love in the letters that she reads from Satsuki. We have like the little crab drawing of May.
It's like here's May as a crab.
Yeah, it's adorable.
It is.
Anyway, so the point being, it feels like May is seeing Satsuki as kind of like the Yatsuko kind of fill-in. So she wants to be close to her in general, just doesn't want to be alone.
Yeah, I mean, even Granny wasn't enough for her.
Yeah,
Which is
that's nothing against Granny, because I mean,
I know.
Granny's awesome.
Granny is great.
Yeah,
I do kind of feel bad for the fact that May didn't want to be close to. I do kind of. It is kind of a nice change of pace when May does cry. It's kind of like a quiet cry,
mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. Like
Well,
it's not. Yeah, go on.
we really depict like the stubborn child animation very well, where it's like a child having a tantrum, which so rarely do you do without like just having like the child randomly be unreasonable, where you kind of see like the subtlety in it.
Like where you understand why May is feeling the way she is.
Yeah,
and she's not like being loud or obnoxious, but
yeah, just like she's digging her heels in, she's playing hardball.
yep. And then when she's sitting between May and sitting next to Satsuki and Michiko.
Yeah, kudos on that teacher, because that teacher is like she only got like 2 hours of school left or so, and like the teacher's like she's very sympathetic to the Kusakabe family and what they're going through. So it was a really nice gesture on her part.
She's like, and I love how everyone's like, all of her classmates like, my little sister's at their little sister. It's like they're all happy. They're like excited to see May.
I believe that's Kath Susi as the teacher, by the way.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's May's drawing Totoro.
Not a very flattering depiction of Totoro.
Well, not all children can draw, Jacob.
Like, well, she's only 4 years old.
Well, true.
I mean, I know, but I was just May's only 4 years old, so naturally she's not going to have the best artistic skills.
Yeah. So, so they're walking home in the rain. Honestly, the rain stuff is where I'm just like I'm completely blown away by the animation here, where it's these little gestures here where I love the moment of I love the feeling of safety and shelter where they kind of take momentary shelter in the shrine, like on the way to school, and like
Yeah,
they thank the what?
like the little fox shrine.
Yeah, little fox shrine. Like they thank the fox shrine for like the temporary passage, and
Like the kitsune, I think it would be called, or
yeah, that the kitsune is fox, so that's right.
it's like it's either that or something to do with Inari. I'm not. There are multiple terms for these kinds of
Well, the
things.
point being, it's a shrine of some variety, but yeah, because later on we have I don't know if we're jumping ahead to later on we have like a fox-like thing. Initially, they're in like this little box on the way home. I don't think we see what's in there, but maybe it is the fox as well. I don't know.
And I think there are multiple fox shrines throughout that area.
Okay,
I mean, if I remember watching it quickly, but like they're taking shelter, and then Kanta comes along, and like he initially walks by, but then like without saying a word, he just like in a huff like gives them his umbrella.
we animate just real kid shyness well, where it's something kind of cute that Kanta he might just be a nice kid, or maybe he likes Satsuki, who knows.
I mean, the funny thing is, like, they kind of start off like making, like, kind of like making like faces that are like,
Yeah,
sticking their tongues out at each other,
yeah.
and all that. But I mean, that's the first time we actually see Kanta actually, being a nice kid. Just sacrificing his umbrella to let May and Satsuki get home dry.
Yeah.
which is nice. I mean, like I said, I'm a sucker for that kind of gesture.
Yeah, man. I really love. Here's what I really love about it. I love that later on, Conte, like, his clothes are dry and everything, and he's being like grilled by the mom. Like, what about your umbrellas? I told you, just it's.
It's like I bet you lost it. I was like, I did it. and then when May and Sasuke come by, like Kanta lent you this.
So it's just really nice that the mother's kind of filling in the blanks. Like, okay, he did something nice with the umbrellas. Okay, I approve of this.
He just did something nice, and he doesn't want to admit it.
Yep, of course. He's playing with the airplane. He's doing the model airplane, which it's a big Miyazaki nod there.
It's like, yeah, I kind of like noticed, like, yeah, Miyazaki's kind of slipping in there.
His own version of the A113.
Yep, the flying. There is an actual flying scene later on in this movie, but but the plane is definitely like children playing with planes, which is kind of cute.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anyway. it is a neat looking model plane, though.
No, for sure. Okay, so girls make their way home, and with the rickety umbrella holes in it. Yep. So then we have the big rain scenes. It's all about the rain, kids. We're making it rain up in here. The people of Ghibli.
They're going to wait at the bus stop to wait for their dad.
Yeah, so basically going to greet their father and walk home with them. Yeah, bring him an umbrella because it's been raining, and they bring the spare umbrella. So the magic, I love the magic, is that despite the fantasy elements, the illusion of life itself just feels so palpable here. Like everything is quiet and stormy and intimate in the rainfall. Again, this is the big iconic scene that we essentially have before us here, or at least about to have before us here.
It's such an iconic scene. That was the original release poster for the movie.
Yeah, because again, it's just there is something so intimate and kind of striking about like a child seemingly alone in the rain, but there's like this big fantastic kind of like teddy bear of a creature like next to her to bring her comfort in a sense, or at least like the showing of like the strange and unknown could be friendly. It's like the whole thing. We shouldn't fear the unknown. We should like appreciate it. Something like that.
What's kind of interesting is that like it just starts off with like just May and Satsuki just standing there, like they stand there so long that May starts to get sleepy.
Yeah, that's the thing. Those are the details that I'm jazzed in my mind about. The fact that again there is something cozy about the rain after a while.
Yep. And so Satsuki like carries her on her back so she can both be dry and get a good nap.
Yeah.
But then just like and Satsuki can barely see out of the umbrella. But then all of a sudden she hears footsteps and wondering what it could possibly be. Then she sees like a giant clawed hand appear right next to her.
So again, it's a little ambiguous. Ultimately, we have like this is where we start to sprinkle in some evidence here. But think about this: maybe because May falls asleep, and the kids are surrounded by nature, and we see some shrines. And again, I'd like to think a little afraid. Again, I think there's the universal fear of like think about it. They show up there at the bus stop. Bus shows up. Dad's not on the bus. They're alone. They're a little uncertain about about fate and just kind of family right now. Like, oh no, Dad, he's probably, she puts on a brave face, saying, well, he's probably missed his bus or something. He'll probably be on the next one. Again, keeping a chipper attitude, but again, masking kind of what we do in Act 3. She's kind of masking the dread of like things going wrong within the family. So in crisis and alone, and in kind of a maybe we're out in the dark here in the rain, and we have nobody here to protect us. I think nature, kind of like again having prayed to the camphor tree, I think nature rewards him with a little bit of a guardian here. I think Totoro shows up, or even imagined shows up to bring the girls comfort. Like she wanted to see Totoro. They're surrounded by nature, that we could use Totoro right now, and lo and behold, there he is. So again, could be imagined as a coping mechanism.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that.
So again, imagined coping mechanism. In reality, again, made a promise to the tree and the nature spirits. I think Totoro is there for a reason anyway. Slice it.
Yeah, but he's just. It appears that he's standing there at the stop waiting for something, and Sade, like he has like this little leaf on his head to try and shield it from the rain.
I love that. That to me always cracks me up with Totoro is the fact they have this big giant like furry animal, and it's the fact he's got this little soaking wet leaf as like his coverage, as his version of the umbrella. It's like this pathetic hat.
I mean, the movie. I mean, this movie isn't like laugh out loud funny, but like there are moments like it's just moments like that just add a bit of levity, and they needed levity to it.
Again, icon of the movie that I would say again, Jacob. Just the well, I guess we'll get into the other very iconic part of this scene, but so again, like these are the visuals that really stick out and that have endured for many years. So Satsuki gives him the umbrella, lends her father's umbrella,
which is a good act of kindness on her part.
And again, with the ambiguity here, I would like to think again in the imagination wondering. I like to think that literal or no, this act of kindness buys him a lot of goodwill for Act 3, where she again the Kusakabe family has a respect for nature, and in kind, nature kind of returns the favor.
And Totoro actually has a little bit of fun with the umbrella.
That he does. He basically,
like the first time, like a big drop of water like lands on it, like it like sends a shiver through his ears or whatever. Mm-hmm. And at first you're like wondering, like, does he not like it, or is he like confused? I mean, at first he doesn't know how to use the umbrella, but which is a fun detail. Like, of course he's not going to know how to use an umbrella. but like. And it gets to the point where like it's that odd sensation where like you sometimes you don't like the little sensation in your ears, but then like the more it happens, the more it kind of tickles and you like it.
Yeah.
To the point where he jumps and stomps on the ground, releasing like a torrent of droplets cascading onto the umbrella.
So that's the thing. When he does that, you'll notice. I want to say,
and he gets that huge smile, but when he gets the idea to do so,
yeah. So then he does it like hugely, and he gets the rain completely stops after he does that again, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So that's the thing. So I love that again. With maybe some ambiguity there, it's like the rain stops after this act of kindness. So you could interpret that maybe as again in kind of reward from nature. This is a nice gesture. I will make it stop raining for you.
But he's gonna have a little bit of fun first.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He did it in a fun way. So again, in kind of a jovial way, he made it stop raining. Or the other way you could look at it too is it's kind of a thing where the rain stops because she's imagined the rain has stopped because, well, I'm sorry, the rain actually does stop, but I'm saying like through a natural form of just the rain stopping, it happens coincidentally after she's done this, this nice act.
Yeah, Totoro's hat lays and like he has the sensation going through his ears. He gets the big grin and gets the idea to basically do it, resulting in the image we see right here.
Yeah. So the rain stops, and then the bus arrives, and again, perhaps this again the girls have this on their mind. They want to. Well, Satsuki has this on her mind. She wants the bus to arrive, and of course, the moment so we bring in the cat bus.
Yes, also Frank Welker.
Yeah, so the cat bus. Well, Frank was like one of the definitive like animal sound guys, so of course he's going to do the cat and the dogs and everything.
Yep.
So
but he's already in here as Totoro, so I thought I'd mention that.
yeah, so the cat bus, amazing design. The eyes. What's great, I think, what's so perfect about the cat bus, aside from just looking like a Cheshire cat melded with the Magic School Bus, is it's this fusion of advancement and nature. So kind of something man-made and something as natural and kind of biological as it gets.
It is kind of, I think, there is really no explanation for it besides like it's it's a spirit and it's a bus.
Yeah.
And like it just exists.
Down on the Magic Spirit Bus.
The Magic Cat Bus.
Magic Cat Bus.
I mean,
oh no, down on the Spirit Cat Bus.
And the thing is, you don't even really need an explanation. It's just that it's there.
Yeah, and again, could be the girls' imagination running wild. Might not be.
But the thing is, after the rain stops, Totoro gets on.
Yep.
Totoro gets on the bus and it goes over the hills.
The best detail. I love it being the light on the eyes of the cat. Like the cat has like the headlights of the bus are like the cat's eyes.
And cats do have good night vision.
Oh yeah, so that's.
Man, what I really found kind of interesting was like you see the bus. Oh, the bus is coming, and then like the bus starts jumping, and they're like, "What?"
So let's talk about the longevity of this scene here. Because think about it, you have we have like the zoetrope, which is all about like Totoro. I forget if it's in the Ghibli Museum or not. Do you know if that's where they kept the Ghibli zoetrope?
I don't even know what the Ghibli zoetrope is.
It's a zoetrope, Jacob.
I mean, I know what a zoetrope is. I just don't know what the Ghibli one is.
Well, Ghibli one is you have the cat bus, and I believe it's Totoro as well. And I think it's like Totoro like jumping over something, while the cat bus is also like climbing, like basically climbing over hills and like in a running motion, like it does in the third act.
That from the looks of things, that is what it is. It's the Totoro. It's Totoro. I think there's other things on there.
Yeah.
Other things on there too. I don't know if it's just My Neighbor Totoro. There's not a lot of good images of it for some reason. But there is Totoro on there.
Yeah.
Totoro with the umbrella.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
Go on.
So, like I said, like, this is really wonderful that in real life, because of this, the goodwill this movie has, like all over Japan, you're going to see there are bus stops with with statues and benches with Totoro and the girls on it, like all kind of cardboard standees where you could like wait by a bus stop and you'd see the girls waiting there, or you'd have like a giant Totoro, or you could sit on a bus bench and you have a giant Totoro next to you.
Even a game I play as like a cat turning into like a bus.
And speaking of that, a lot of vehicle tributes to the cat bus. A lot of people over the years have retrofitted buses and cars and vehicles into having having the cat visage to it.
Yep. I mean, I can see why. I mean, it's such a unique design and memorable for a character that's not even in the movie that much.
But again, easily the most iconic scene in the movie.
Like just the rain scene in general.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just the rain, Totoro shows up to the cat bus. It's.
And the thing is, like they said, they knew it was going to be an iconic scene because they used it as the poster. as the poster for the original theatrical release for the movie.
Yeah.
And but the funny thing is, like, the girl shown in the image in the poster is like, it's not Satsuki or May. It's probably like the original girl.
Yeah,
that was
that's exactly it, Jacob. That's the original girl.
that one that was split between Satsuki and May.
Yes.
So, kind of interesting how that works.
All right, so a little bit of evidence after this scene we sprinkle in where the Totoro gifts the girls a little leaf wrap of acorns.
Which they plan to do a little garden, and like I just love how like May watches it day after day after day.
Yep, that's where we get the crab May.
It's like, and it's like, will it grow tomorrow? Which is cute.
So also we have the fact that again they no longer have father's umbrella, so there is a question of like, well, Totoro still has the Mary Poppins that umbrella. He's
It's like he didn't fly away with it though.
well, later on he does.
Yeah, but right now he just gets on the bus with it.
All right, fine. He stole an umbrella.
No, he was gifted an umbrella.
He was lent an umbrella, Jacob.
Yes, he was lent
And
an umbrella.
it stopped raining.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Oh, it's fine. They gifted him the umbrella. I know. I'm just saying, as far as the father's concerned.
The umbrella's gone.
Point being, the point we have two tangible bits of evidence here for the first time. They have acorns and they did not have acorns. And there is no umbrella. Now you could always argue they kind of had umbrellas and imagine they were given umbrellas, acorns. I mean, the umbrellas not so much. All right, so then we have the dream sequence. So we full on know this is even the girls know this is a dream, but it does make you wonder. We have so the dream sequence itself. Basically we plant all the trees with the acorns. This was always kind of my problem spot of the movie. Not problem in a bad way, just problem in terms of like, this is where the story went out the window because this sequence, it's all style, it's no substance, it's just fun dreamscape stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. It's just we see the nods of like the acorns, sprouting, and like so the girl's imagination is exaggerated.
Totoro playing the flute, causing the tree to grow into a giant camphor tree looking thing.
Yeah. So the idea is if something real has happened and that we end up with sprouts. So there's tangible proof that but you could always argue, okay, it's just the acorns just kind of growing finally, or was it like did Totoro actually make it grow like that and then reduce it, or the girl's just like we dreamed Totoro made it grow and they're fully satisfied with these little sprouts that they got.
They're like having to even do the dance that they did in the dream.
Yeah.
I said I didn't personally have a problem with the dream sequence. I mean, I thought it was a nice addition.
I'm just saying in the movie, to me, it just feels like the only real indulgent. Like everything else feels like okay, we're kind of moving story forward, and this is like the one time it's like okay, it's just kind of fun.
I mean, it definitely just kind of was like okay, the rest of the movie's fun, but this is where we're gonna show off.
Yeah, that's right. That's all. And I think, like I said, it's not a problem, but I think it does kind of speak to the movie being. To a degree, the movie is kind of style over substance. I'm not saying there aren't really like you don't have real feelings towards the movie, you don't have real enjoyment towards the movie, but it's just in terms of, it feels very much like we want to really show off some really cool animation. We want to really show off like some wonderful characters and kind of feelings we can kind of instill with all this, but we're not really going for. We're never going to measure up to like a Toy Story in terms of story here,
Yeah, but you keep bringing Toy Story into this.
No, you're right. But what you mean? I keep bringing in Toy Story into it?
Yeah.
Well, again, because of the whole Toy Story 3 thing, but also, again, even Miyazaki admitted, like, Toy Story was,
I know, but this movie came out before Toy Story.
Sure. I don't know.
But as you were saying,
again, I don't know. My point being is just like, maybe look. I'm not even going to judge it harshly. I don't mean to do that. I'm just saying that it's that. I guess looking at when it came out too, like in '88, this is still kind of an area pre, when Disney's starting to kind of reinvent the wheel on storytelling. So maybe it is like per the, maybe it is like, as far as we really kind of had evolved the medium in the '80s. I don't know. I mean, we're still getting stuff like Brave Little Toaster though, in like I think '80s, if it was '86 or not, but
I have no idea.
okay.
All right.
Anyway, the point being, look, I'm saying it was like compared to where we go with the other Ghibli films, and even the ones that came before this, though, like Castle in the Sky. Even I'll give you that much. Okay, Castle in the Sky. It feels like we're kind of going, went a little beyond the story, the story realms that we're doing here. But again, it's in service of a very different tone of story. So yeah.
I mean, I can kind of see your point.
But again, I have no look. I don't have an issue with the dream sequence. I'm just saying the dream sequence just kind of speaks to we're really. It's more like we're having a good time versus like we're trying to really kind of like we're not versus we're trying to tell Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I mean, Mononoke was like the big one at that point.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like these are very like I'm saying this is like a building block so you can get to a Mononoke, but we kind of have to run, have to walk before we can run.
Yeah, and he's been running ever since.
Yep. Okay, so Act 3. So Act 3, we introduce Granny's healing vegetables, which gives which gives the girls an idea of like, hey, let's give Mom an ear of corn to heal her up.
We don't even see the unshucked corn, but it still looks good.
Oh, absolutely.
Like I want to eat Granny's vegetables.
I love that the corn is almost as big as the little girl.
As big as May.
Yeah.
Yep. But like she gets the idea. They get the idea. Like if even Granny's like, if your mother ate my vegetables, she would get better in no time.
So that gives them a little light bulb. Like, yeah, when Mom visits, we'll give her the corn.
Yeah, because she's gonna be coming back for like a brief weekend stay at their house to get used to it.
Yeah. So then they get some bad news. They get a telegram. A telegram.
That's how you know this movie takes place in the older years.
Yeah. We have radio, no television, and telegrams.
Yeah, it's like the time period was kind of ambiguous until telegrams.
Yeah.
So, and then the old-fashioned phones.
Yep. So, point being, we have a telegram in which, it seems, it's basically like tell Dad to call the hospital. So she reaches Father, and there's an air of like, oh boy, this might not be good. So they contact Mr. Kuskabe.
And he calls the hospital, and it turns out their mom's not doing very well.
Yeah, at the very least, she can't come visit this weekend.
And when Granny tries to comfort Satsuki, she's like, "This is how it always is, though." It's like she about to come for a visit, then she gets sick.
It's very seemingly, it's a very basically the reality of the sad reality of the situation really seeps in. It just seems like, oh man, what if she never gets better? And again, presumably a real fear Miyazaki had in his boyhood, with his mother being sick. Where, again, this is the situation. For a while she was sick and just in that hospital constantly.
Yeah, and of course basically the pressure of being the kind of like this quote unquote second mother is kind of beginning to take its toll on Satsuki.
Yeah.
And she kind of snaps at May.
Yep, and that's the breaking point. We see Satsuki, she's breaking down to Granny, and again, I love we have very simple stakes for Act 3 here, where reality is seeping in, and we lost May.
Yep. And Kanta even tried to comfort May, which is nice.
Yeah.
But May tries to take the corn herself to the hospital, which is both heartwarming and kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, I love the simplistic view of like, I'm going to get this healing corn to Mom to heal her.
And it's like it's a 4 hour, and Greg's like, that's a 4 hour walk for an adult.
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah.
All right. still that's a long walk even for an adult, let alone for a 4-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And so basically, so Satsuki goes around searching for May. Granny like rallies the other people of the area, search also to help search for her as well.
Okay, so this our third act climax here, inspired by two things.
Yeah.
So Miyazaki lost his brother at a festival once, so that's kind of where the root of the idea came from. And then there was this. So the tense moment of finding the sandal that came from like something that happened in the I believe like the village that this movie's kind of based on. Like there was a someone that went missing and there was a lot of panic, and it was like they found the sandal. It was like, oh no, has could the kid have fallen in the river?
And which is why Satsuki rushes back when she hears of this.
Yeah, yeah, and you'll notice if you really look at that sandal, it is made to look very suspiciously exactly like the other sandal.
I mean, it does get you to think like, did something happen to May?
Yeah,
But then when Satsuki's like looking at it and she hesitates, like breathing heavy, like oh no, and then it's not May's, and you're like
yep.
and you just breathe this out with like oh
Or someone saying, "What about so it's another kid?" And it's like, "Not now."
yeah.
Or okay, the more lighthearted version of just like some little girl goes, "Hey, my slipper!"
Yeah.
Like, "Hey, my sandal!"
But yeah, that would have yeah.
It's the Toriyama version of that scene where some some kids say, my sandal, and they're
And
all
then
they all stumble over.
then everybody like does the face plant.
Yeah.
Or face fault, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Miyazaki doesn't do that kind of thing. He's not a really gag-heavy director.
No.
It would have, but not that he doesn't have like levity and jokes in his stories, but if you were to call any of his movies comedies, that kind of would be kind of stretching it a little bit.
Yeah.
Even the more lighthearted ones wouldn't really be comedies.
I don't know. Ponyo is kind of closest to being a comedy, I'd say.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that is like probably the closest.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, I'm not saying that movie's dramatic or anything, but even that's just more like lighthearted and fun than comedic.
That's true. Anyway.
But like I said, the whole like you can feel like your own chest like palpitating, almost like hoping that the sandal doesn't belong to May. But then
Yep.
like you breathe a sigh of relief when you find
Well,
out.
I mean, you have that audience who's like, "Oh, please don't be like Grave of the Fireflies. Please don't be like Grave of the Fireflies." No.
and then it's not May's sandal, and you're like, ah.
That's what I'm saying. There's your rallying cry, like, "Yay! It's not her sandal."
Yeah. But then Satsuki looks in the distance and sees the tree.
So she gets an idea. We need, again. She's at her kind of lowest, most desperate moment. She retreats into nature and kind of calls upon a favor via Totoro. She seeks Totoro out. It's a beautiful moment here. It's very much, it kind of dries the tears and kind of. Well, I'm sorry. Before that, I want to mention that the moment in which she kind of like at her lowest point, she kind of goes to Totoro for help. It's kind of reminds me. It's like it feels like a more successful version of like how the Florida Project ended.
All right.
The movie, The Florida Project, where essentially things are going so bad, the girls kind of retreat into escapism. It's a pair of they're not sisters, but they're friends, and it's just kind of I don't know. Obviously, this came decades before that, but I'm just saying it makes me wonder if perhaps there's some shades of like what Totoro was doing to some degree. I don't know. It's the idea of you kind of have a hopeless situation in which we retreat into this, and again we full on confirm things by the end of this movie that Totoro probably real. again, still, it's the idea that in the most hopeless moments, she's kind of retreating to kind of thinking like her sister, and then Totoro would be kind of like the solution in finding her. So you could, if you read it literally, like I think you're supposed to, she goes to Totoro, and Totoro helps her out. Nature rewards them for their faith. Flip side of it, you could look at it as, okay, in thinking like May, she kind of like imagines what Totoro would do, and that brings her to May. Like she finds whatever path, like how far she actually got, and that's how she was reunited with her.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, but basically, but yeah, like she falls down the same hole that May did and finds Totoro,
yep,
who probably like who obviously agrees to help find May and calls the cat bus from the on top of the tree.
yep. And that's a great kind of like triumphant moment where like the cat bus returns, and it has like the little like ticker, like where it says like all the destinations, and it says May.
which was awesome.
Yes. So then she rides the bus, and inside the bus you have like all the seats, and they're all furry.
Yeah, that does look very comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, I saw like encircling through like the names that it just said May, and it's like, oh, even the cat bus was concerned for May.
Hey Jacob,
Yeah,
do we happen to have sound clips available?
nah, not in this one, I don't think.
Okay.
Oh, we have the only one we have is the we don't care.
We do? That's what we need. Do we have it?
Yep.
Perfect. So again, it's we're in our third act here. We're like in kind of the climax. It's kind of a thing where we seek out Totoro. We summon the cat bus to find the sister, and it's like the movie optimizes, the we don't care movie magic.
We don't care. Like that.
Yeah.
Did you hear it?
No, I didn't. I'm going on faith on that one.
All right, I'll do it one more time.
We don't care.
Perfect.
There we go.
So it's very much kind of like the Pixar we don't care in terms of like if you really question like wait a minute why does the cat bus just kind of show up now, and all these kind of like
I mean, it's because Totoro called it.
yeah.
I mean, that's all we need to know. Totoro called
Well, I
it.
mean the logistics of like if it's potentially imagined the bus is going to take him to exactly where she's at. Like I mean, May's not exactly a destination, but it's a spirit bus. It's like these things of like it doesn't matter because again you're invested in the movie, and it's
And again, it's magic almost, basically.
yeah.
And so they go find May.
Yeah, we reunite with May, and again, like the
And outside of like the brief scene at the end, that's the last time we see Totoro.
yeah.
Like we see the cat bus more in the finale than we do Totoro.
And again, it's an empowering moment of like Totoro kind of drying the girl's tears and helping her out, and just kind of like reuniting her with her sister in the gesture, even though he doesn't directly do it.
I mean, Totoro is basically a force for change.
Yeah. So I really love that, in reuniting May and Satsuki, we then we go the extra mile here where the magical world.
Yeah, go on.
The magical world rewards the innocence of children with the comfort that mom's going to be okay.
Yeah, they take the kids, take Satsuki and May to the hospital to see their mom just happily talking with their dad.
Yeah, and again, I love it's the thing where they're overhearing this. They're not like participating in the conversation where seemingly it's just ambiguous enough that is it happening, is it not happening, it's just what they're imagining. And then we have, May wanted to drop off the ear of corn to mom, and then we reveal the ear of corn outside, which has something inscribed in it.
For mommy.
Which, again, per Mother's Day, for our purposes, very solid ending.
Yep.
But the fact that that's the ending too is the fact that the girls, we established the family's going to be okay. The girls, they have their closure that okay, we were worried for nothing. We've overheard that things are going to be fine, and we have each other, and we don't need to think it was kind of like an apology without like a full on like spelling it out kind of a thing.
Yeah. The cat bus got them into the tree. They left the corn. Mom's gonna be okay.
Yep. And then we have kind of this uplifting montage and kind of end credits that happens where we see we acknowledge that okay, Granny, she knows the kids are okay, which is important.
Yep.
Then we have our end credits, which basically there is an implication in the end credits
Yeah.
that basically Mama Kusakabe, Yatsuko, she is definitely okay, and she's going to continue to be okay because she might have had a new baby.
Aww.
Because if you notice, there's like this random baby in the end credits that May's hanging around, and it looks the implication seems to be that is a new sibling. So that to me implies that okay, mom definitely recovered to the point where she can have kids, so she's okay.
I mean, it is kind of ambiguous there, but
I mean,
like,
it is, and it's in the credits, so it doesn't amount to anything in the movie itself. But I'm just saying, it's
I mean, it's basically kind of just they do play with other children, and I basically stated that it's their other sibling. But
that's true, but it's very clearly a newborn. But yeah,
yep, and of course the jaunty ending. So Totoro,
Totoro,
Totoro. Yep,
the jaunty tune.
it is Japanese version, which was written by Hayao Miyazaki himself.
Yep. Well, it took him a long time to figure out the words on that one.
I mean, he obviously wrote more lyrics than just Totoro, Totoro.
Yeah, the American audience just dumbed it down.
I mean, there's more lyrics than in the English version too, Dragons.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I'm just busting your chops, I guess.
Yep.
But basically, just kind of basically just re-summarizes the plot of the movie and all that. It's like the bag of seeds and all that.
Acorns. Yep.
Yep. Basically, it ending the movie on just a nice uplifting tone.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's it. That concludes My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can see why it's had the lasting appeal that it's had. I mean, from like the characters, the movie itself, like it's 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 simple movie. It's a very simple movie, but in the best possible way.
It's original recipe.
But not extra crispy.
Nope.
But you get what I'm saying, though, Dragon. It's definitely a simple movie.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with simple. I have no compunction with it being simple. I'm just saying I think it's something to appreciate.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's simple in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like but it also it's not like insulting to a child's intelligence either. It doesn't insult the intelligence of the audience.
Yeah.
It's telling a simple story. And the movie, we basically not a lot of movies capture like that sense of childlike whimsy that this movie does.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the world could use more movies like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
I mean, especially now more than ever.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
So, I think this movie's about a relationship to nature and how we should basically how we should kind of.
I mean, it's like basically living with nature and like an appreciation of childhood as well.
Yeah, but it's like a relationship to nature and how it should be treated like a neighbor.
I mean, Totoro himself kind of represents nature.
That's what I mean. So it's kind of like we should treat like the embodiment of that nature kind of like as a neighbor in a friendly, kind of positive way, and it's a fun slice of life approach to telling that story. And not a lot of movies would be able to pull it off.
But Totoro does.
Yeah.
I mean, he pulls it off almost flawlessly.
I mean, the movie embodies the fundamental principles of Ghibli. At least Miyazaki's movies, and I think the foundational elements of the kind of Ghibli really kind of took off from there.
I mean, so much so that Totoro even became the mascot of Studio Ghibli.
Yes. So yeah, the animation geek in me, I think, loves this movie, even if it's no Spirited Away. It absolutely deserves its Mother's Day flowers. To put it that way, this movie, it deserves all its pretty flowers, all the pretty Mother's Day flowers for this movie.
I mean, May actually did collect flowers in the early beginning of the movie.
She did. You be the flower shop, Dad.
Which is cute.
Yeah. All right, so I want to thank, that pretty much does it for our first of 4 installments this year. I want to thank Little Blue for tuning in, and anyone else who's going to tune in afterwards.
Yep. We have quite an interesting selection this year.
Yeah.
Some of which we've already mentioned in this stream.
Yep. All right, folks.
Yep.
Time to board the cat bus to our next stop in the world of Miyazaki.